Okay, so you want to run a theme park. The screams on the way down, the first drop, the smell of funnel cake drifting across the midway. Kids running ahead of their parents toward the gates the second they open. A whole summer's worth of business showing up in flip-flops and sunscreen, handing you money for the privilege of being scared on purpose. You imagine yourself walking the park at dusk, string lights coming on, a coaster train clattering up the lift hill one more time before close. That's the picture. Sounds simple. It is not. Start with the fact that theme park isn't one business. It's several completely different businesses wearing the same costume. At the top, sit the destination mega resorts Walt Disney World, Universal Orlando, pulling in 10 to 20 million guests a year per gate and generating $1 to $3 billion in revenue per gate, running 12 months a year, built around owned hotels and IP nobody else can license. Below that are regional chain parks, Cedar Point, Six Flags Magic Mountain, Kings Island, pulling 1.5 million to 3.5 million guests a year. Seasonal, open maybe 100 to 150 days, built around thrill rides and a 50 to 150 mile driving radius. Below that, independent mid-tier parks Holiday World, Nobles, a newer one called Lost Island in Iowa, 300,000 to 1.5 million guests, family-owned, local. And at the bottom, water parks and family entertainment centers, 100,000 to 500,000 guests, running on a fraction of the capital. In the US, there are roughly 30,000 location-based entertainment businesses total, but only 300 to 400 are actual fixed-site theme and amusement parks. Corporate chains control about 60% of regional attendance. The other 40% is independents. So when someone says they're buying a theme park, the honest first question is which one, because a Disney Gate and a family-owned park in Indiana do not share a business model. They share a Ferris wheel. Now, how you get one. Build versus buy. Universal's Epic Universe in Orlando, a 750-acre greenfield resort, carries a total capital commitment north of $7 billion. Just the building permits alone were valued at $1.6 billion across 1,150 permits and 34,000 inspections. On the smaller end, Lost Island Theme Park in Waterloo, Iowa, cost about $100 million to build on 90 acres, opened in 2022, and uses stock model coasters to control cost. The Mattel Adventure Park, going into the $1 billion VAI resort in Glendale, Arizona, is budgeted around $260 million standalone. A second one planned for Bonner Springs, Kansas, is estimated at $487 million. But here's the number that should scare you more than any of those. Hard Rock Park opened in Myrtle Beach in April 2008. It cost nearly $400 million to build $320 million in debt, $62 million in land and equity. 5 months later, it filed for Chapter 11. In February 2009, it sold at bankruptcy for $25 million. That's a 93.75% collapse in value in under a year. It reopened for one season as Freestyle Music Park and then closed permanently. A $400 million theme park, gone in 18 months because it was undercapitalized for the operating cash drag and opened directly into the 2008 financial crisis. That is what happens when the debt service clock starts running the day the loan lands and the guests don't show up fast enough to outrun it. Say you buy an existing park instead. You still inherit problems you didn't build. Wooden coasters degrade structurally within 15 to 25 years and either need full track replacement or a hybrid retrofit. Companies like Rocky Mountain Construction will swap the wooden track for steel I-box. Rails on the existing support structure, which is how Gwazi at Busch Gardens, Tampa, became Iron Gwazi. That retrofit runs $10 to $18 million. About half the cost of building a steel coaster from scratch, but it's not optional, it's structural. Then there's insurance. Liability premiums have been climbing across the industry for a decade, driven by litigation, weather risk, and a hardening commercial insurance market generally. Regional chains typically self-insure the first $1 to $5 million of any claim, then carry umbrella coverage on top of that, worth $50 to $100 million. None of that shows up in the sale listing. It shows up in year one. Then the rides themselves. A Giga coaster, the big steel ones, like Fury 325 at Carowinds runs $28 to $35 million to build. A heavily themed launch coaster with a full show package, like Universal's Velocicoaster, runs $80 to $100 million or more. A major IP dark ride with trackless vehicles and projection can run $40 to $150 million. None of this is optional maintenance either. It's how you stay competitive against the park down the highway. So how does a park actually make money? 4 layers. 1. Admissions, single-day tickets, and season passes 45 to 52% of revenue. 2. Food and beverage concessions, festivals 16 to 25%, and high margin. 3. Merchandise and games 13 to 14%. 4. Parking, hotels, and extra charge products like Fast Lane or Flash Pass, line skipping 7 to 15%. At major chains, in-park guest spending alone, not counting the ticket, runs $61.65 to $65.15 per person. Combine that with admission and total per capita spend lands between $80 and $105. Here's the part that matters. Chains push season passes hard, priced $80 to $150. Against single-day gate prices of $45 to $80 online and $90 plus at the gate, pass holders now make up 50 to 65% of total annual visits. Why sell a cheaper product on purpose? Because a season pass sold in February is cash in hand before the park opens, it de-risks the entire season against bad weather since the pass holder already paid. And it sets up higher margin add-ons, all-season dining plans, drink bottles, preferred parking sold to a guest who's already walking through the gate for free. Here's the myth to bust. A theme park looks like a summer cash machine. It is actually a 12-month fixed-cost business funded by a 100-day window. 70 to 80% of a regional park's operating costs, permanent staff, ride maintenance, property tax, depreciation, baseline utilities, debt service, insurance are fixed and don't scale down when attendance drops. Most northern and midwestern regional parks operate 100 to 130 days a year, and roughly 70% of a chain's annual attendance and revenue lands in the second and third quarter. That means a rained-out Saturday in July isn't a minor inconvenience. If a park expecting 25,000 guests gets rained down to 2,000, and blended per capita spend is around $90, that single day just cost the business over $2 million in unrecoverable revenue, while the staff, the lights, and the loan payment don't take the day off. If you want to see what happens when risk goes unmanaged entirely, look at Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey. Opened in the late 1970s by Great American Recreation, run by Eugene Mulvihill, it became infamous for self-designed, unengineered rides, the Alpine Slide, the Tarzan Swing, the enclosed Cannonball Loop, a tidal wave pool that behaved more like open water than a pool. Over its operating life, the park was linked to at least 6 guest deaths, an employee killed on the Alpine Slide in 1980, a drowning in the wave pool in 1982, a fatal electrocution on the kayak experience the same year, a second wave pool drowning in 1984, a fatal cardiac event on the Tarzan Swing that same year, and a third wave pool drowning in 1987. Thousands of lesser injuries piled up every season. By the late 1980s, commercial insurers simply refused to write a policy for the place. Instead of shutting down, GAR's leadership set up an unlicensed, uncapitalized offshore shell company in the Cayman Islands and issued its own fake insurance certificates to satisfy state regulators. When investigators caught it, the fallout legal liability, unpaid injury claims, over $10 million in unpaid municipal taxes sent the company into Chapter 11 in 1996, closing the park for good. Canadian resort operator Intrawest bought the property, stripped out the dangerous attractions, re-engineered it to modern standards, and it operates today as Mountain Creek Water Park, a normal, insured, unremarkable business sitting on the same ground where a company once forged its own insurance to stay open. Zoom out, and the industry itself is consolidating hard. On the 1st of July 2024, Cedar Fair and Six Flags completed a merger of equals, creating a combined company that kept the Six Flags name but trades under Cedar Fair's old ticker, FUN. At closing, Cedar Fair's equity was worth about $2.74 billion, Legacy Six Flags about $2.37 billion, an implied equity value of $3.6 to $4.3 billion, and with $4.4 billion in combined net debt, an enterprise value over $8 billion. The new company owns 27 parks, 15 separate water parks, and 9 resorts across the US, Canada, and Mexico, pulling in 50.3 million guests in 2024 on roughly $3.4 billion in pro forma revenue. Management is targeting $120 million in annual cost synergies within 2 years, and the FTC cleared the deal without forcing a single park sale. Meanwhile, the global theme park market, valued around $42.5 billion in 2022, is projected to hit $109.3 billion by 2032, US. Parks alone generated $12.4 billion in 2023 across 300 million visits. The industry runs on roughly 700,000 seasonal workers, and to keep labor costs manageable against 45% seasonal turnover and rising minimum wages, operators lean hard on the J-1 student visa program. Those workers are exempt from Social Security and Medicare payroll taxes, saving employers 7.65% per worker. And now there's a newer threat, layered on top of the old seasonal one. Extended summer heat waves over 100 degrees Fahrenheit are measurably depressing afternoon attendance, pushing operators to spend capital on shade structures and indoor attractions just to protect the calendar they already have. Which brings us to why sophisticated money still buys into this. Increasingly, they're not buying the rides, they're buying the real estate underneath them. EPR Properties, a REIT, has acquired the physical land under several regional parks and leases it back to the operator on a triple net basis. The operator pays rent and stays responsible for taxes, insurance, and upkeep, while the REIT collects a predictable yield without ever touching a roller coaster. Private equity has run the same playbook. Blackstone once owned both Merlin Entertainments and SeaWorld, optimizing margins and pricing before exiting. And for the biggest players, the park itself is often just the anchor tenant. Disney's real estate strategy leans on more than 25,000 acres in Central Florida to capture guest spending across hotels, golf courses, and Disney Springs. The $1 billion VAI resort in Arizona is built the same way a $260 million Mattel theme park sitting next to 1,100 luxury hotel rooms and a $50 million amphitheater, with the park there primarily to drive people into the rooms. So here's the honest math. In a strong year, a mid-size regional park hits its baseline target of around 3 million visits. Blended per-visit revenue lands around $75, producing roughly $225 million in revenue. With fixed overhead around $50 million absorbed across high volume and season pass yield holding up, EBITDA margin expands to around 38%, putting operating profit near $85 million. In a bad year, a wet, hot, or recessionary one, attendance drops 25% to about 2.25 million. Per visit spend stays flat or slips slightly to $70. Revenue falls to roughly $157 million, but the fixed costs don't move, so the margin collapses to around 20%, and operating profit drops to about $31 million. Same park, same rides, same staff, same loan. The only thing that changed was the weather and the mood of the economy, and it cost the business $54 million in a single season. That's the whole story of this industry in one number. You're not really running a business that sells thrill rides. You're running a 12-month fixed-cost machine that has to make its entire year's living in 100 good weather days and hoping, every single one of them, that the sky stays clear enough for the screams to keep coming.